God damn it. For some reason I still feel like ranting somewhat, but I don't know if I should. I'll try to be quiet. I don't want to bug people. Oh man. I don't know, man. I don't even know what the hell to say. I mean, I thought about pointing out many, like, pretty goddamn clear points about how screwed up shit is. People don't seem to notice or care. Well, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be such a massive amount of evil in order for some place like this to even exist. It's like on a level that is huge. I mean, gosh, how do I even explain this? Well, I don't know. There's so many examples that when you really, if you can even come remotely close to comprehending the sheer scale of how evil shit is, like to even see it, even just to see one billionth percentage of how fucking evil shit is, it's so far beyond anything you could imagine. Like, okay, example, I don't know. You ever imagine how much time and energy it would take to build, to make, say, a knife or a gun or something, right? Something that people use to murder one another, right? Just one. Just one. Now, if you're able to comprehend like how much time, how much effort. No, now I mean, imagine like trying to make it from scratch, right? Not with a parts kit, but having to actually create the parts from scratch from raw materials. Now imagine how long it would take to do that, right? How many, resources and how much effort it would take. Just one. Now, imagine how many, probably hundreds of billions of such items exist on the face of the earth that have been created just within your lifetime. Not counting all the stuff that already existed before you were alive. Can you even wrap your head around that? Imagine how many people, how many human and material resources it takes, and how much time and energy and material resources and tools, and how many people have to work together to create one boat, like a large boat. Now imagine like a battleship or an aircraft carrier or something, right? How many people how many hours, how much human and material resources it would take to create one of those, and then on top of that to man it, and and then realize how many such things exist, right? It's just trying to, like, you know, take it from a macroscopic, like a small level, to try to get you to comprehend, like, the vast, like, how large this evil is, how vast and expansive it is. It's like, oh my god. I don't know. I mean, I suppose I could use tobacco, right, as an example if I wanted to, because I know a lot of people have, like, a very negative view about tobacco, and, oh, it's so terrible and causes cancer and blah blah blah. And I don't know how I feel about that shit, but let's just use that as an example, right? Have you ever rolled a pack of cigarettes? Imagine how many people have to be involved, how many human and material resources it takes to grow and harvest and dry and shred all that tobacco, and how many more human and material resources it takes to create all the paper that it takes for people to roll cigarettes, and all the and how many people have to be involved to make all the cigars, and even with factories producing things, like how many resources. Like, if you could just even attempt to imagine, like, I mean, what, we're supposed to have, what, 8 billion people in the world, and let's say that I don't know what percentage of them, like, smoke cigar. I mean, and there's probably enough tobacco just on the shelves in stores right now for probably, like, everyone on Earth, wouldn't you think? I mean, because if you go into I mean, sure, there's lots of people that smoke, but you go into a store, there's endless stacks of cartons of cigarettes. There's humidor full of cigars. There's more cigars. On and on. And you realize that that's being produced on a regular basis, produced, packaged, distributed. Like, how many people it takes to be involved in that, right? In order for that to even exist. Yeah. Imagine how many acres. I mean, I can make the same point about alcohol too. Like, imagine how many acres of land, of prime farmland, in a world, by the way, where there are literally millions of people that starve to death. And yet vast swaths of farmland, prime, like the best farmland you could imagine, are used to grow tobacco and mostly inedible grapes and hops and barley and fucking sugar cane and all this crap in order to to make ridiculous amounts of tobacco products and alcohol just to poison us. Imagine how many millions or hundreds of millions of people have to be involved to produce, package, and distribute that shit. Right? You see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to like point out the like sublime, massive level, the scale of the evil in this world, just to give you like a little hint to get you to really think about it, you know? I don't know if you've seen there's a movie that came out. Surprisingly enough, they actually had it even at the local theater around here. I guess somehow that managed to make it out into the mainstream kind of. Is that movie The Sound of Freedom? Right? Imagine how many people have to be involved in that kind of thing. The subject matter of that movie, right? How many people have to exist there as sort of part of a support structure to protect and guard and serve the people that are involved in that kind of fucking shit. Yeah. Like, how is it that those people that do such horrible, unspeakable things walk around free as a bird, right? If they don't have the entire might of all the apparatus of like millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people, like serving and supporting and protecting them. You see what I'm saying? Right? And making it so that they can get away with shit that otherwise, in a world that wasn't such, a level of vast evil, it would be fucking impossible for them to get away with that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, can you imagine somebody trying to do that to people's kids back in like the 1400s or 1500s? It would be like an entire village would come together with like pitchforks and fucking torches and probably be burning somebody alive or something for taking part in some shit like that. Like, it would have been like I mean, it just, what the devil? All right, dude, they would have been. Oh boy, drawn and quartered or something or worse. Like, there's no way. I mean, we're talking about like what, like Elizabeth Bathory level fucking evil shit going on. Not as like the exception, but now like the norm almost. Like, how is that even possible? I mean, you would think there would be villagers with torches and so on, you know? Ugh. Like a scene from Frankenstein or something, you know? Like, get him! There's a monster in there, get him! You know? It's just so fucking crazy, man. Imagine a world with such vast abundance. Okay? Do you realize that the entire population of the Earth, if people were packed in like living in the way that they do in New York City or something, the entire population of the Earth could fit in like Alaska or Texas or something, and everybody could have like a decent sized piece of land in their own home, like pretty much, yeah. Like there's not scarce resources. That is the biggest fucking lie. It's ridiculous that anyone would believe that resources were so scarce and that we could be convinced of that. Like, oh yes, resources are scarce, and Steven Spielberg is a bad hunter that killed a dinosaur, right? Like, you have to be fucking retarded to think that there's scarce resources on Earth, man. Seriously. It's like, is that scarce? It's because there's like a certain number of people that are running everything, and like some of them claim ownership of millions upon millions of acres of land is like their fucking yard or something, and everyone else must pay tribute unto them if they wish to have a place to sleep. Basically, that's the situation we're in here, man. We're living in a world with like vast material resources, and yet some people are left to starve to death and others are left to sleep under bridges and street corners, while the rest of the people are so cold that they don't even give a shit at all. Like, that's it's, it's unthinkable, man. It's like, when I was a kid, I mean, I I could never have imagined a world being this fucking screwed up. Like in my wildest imaginations. I mean, I used to have some freaky ass nightmares and stuff, but like there's no way that I could have ever predicted this shit. Like it, it's to the point where I almost have to agree with Margaret Sanger. I remember this quote by Margaret Sanger, who I consider to be one of the most evil people in the history of our country and possibly of the world. She said, the most humane thing parents could do for their children is to kill it. And looking at how fucking evil this world has become because it's ran by people like that, I've reached the point now to where I almost have to like begrudgingly agree with her. Like, why? I can't imagine bringing children into this world. Like you'd have to be. I have basically become kind of like basically an antinatalist or something. I mean, because like you see that innocence in the kids and stuff, and like I don't know, man. There's a part of me that like when I see kids in at stores or wherever the fuck, right? I almost want to just break down and cry, knowing that innocence and that like the kind of fucking horrendous nightmare hellscape of a world that has been created that they're gonna have to grow up and live in, and how all the lies that are gonna be fed into their fucking heads and the shit that they're gonna have to deal with when they get older. How hard like the fucking screwed up nature of reality is gonna smack them upside the fucking head, and they're gonna have to wake up one day and realize that everything they ever were told was a fucking lie, and that everyone that they thought cared about them doesn't give a shit whether they live or die. And it's just like, it's a fucking nightmare, dude. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's sad. It's fucking sad, dude. So I guess I should be glad that I didn't have kids. So they didn't have to be subjected to this fucking screwed up hellscape that this fucking humans have created here, or whatever, or the demons, or whatever the fuck they are, man. Oh, water. Water is a good beverage. Should probably stick with water. I don't know, man. You can see how someone would see what I'm saying, like, is it pessimism? Like, pessimism. Oh, it's just pessimism. Just being negative. Like, no, man, I'm calling a duck a duck. You know? I'm telling you that the sky is blue. You know? Telling you the ice is cold and fire is hot. I'm not fucking making shit up here. The fucking world is fucking messed up, son. And it ain't fucking right. Eh, God, I don't know what to do with it. What to do with this. It's like, it's fucking hella depressing to see this shit. It really is. Truly. But, you know, what's the guy to do? I see it, you know? I tried to start talking about things like lay things out in a very basic sort of a way, you know? You know, to paint a picture. Like the way I talked about, like, the amount of time, effort, resources that would go into, like, building a single knife from scratch or gun or, you know, whatever, right? And then, and then I was like, okay, now imagine that times hundreds of billions of times, right? To get like an idea of the scale of how fucking screwed up shit is here. Like, oh god. how difficult it would be for me to explain how ridiculous the monetary system is, or just the very concept in itself. I don't know. That's kind of a complex issue. Because, well, let's put it this. I don't know. Maybe this will sound ridiculous to you, but it is how ridiculous it is, though. Imagine if someone came to you with a handful of gravel or a pine cone or something, and they said, I will give you this handful of gravel for your house or for your car, or I will trade you this gravel for half the food in your pantry. And now I'm just sitting here wondering how many people hearing this can comprehend the fact that that handful of gravel has more material value than a stack of $100 bills. Right? Have you ever seen you don't even have to look up the name of the money. Just like look up pictures of the streets of Venezuela. You don't even have to say anything about the money. Just look at pictures of the streets of Venezuela. Seriously. There's like piles and piles of money. Just all over in the gutter, on the sidewalk, in the middle of the street. Piles, just garbage of the fucking Venezuelan dollars. Because it's so fucking worthless that it's not even worth like stooping over to pick it up. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if it was me, if I was in Venezuela, like I would go pick up that shit, like a bunch of it. If I had space somewhere for it, if I had room somewhere for it, and like try to sell it on eBay or something, for dollars or some other form of currency that wasn't worthless. Sell it to people like a souvenir for tourists or something. That would be the thing to do. If you could get out of there with a bunch of that like worthless money and then sell it to foreigners as like a fucking souvenir. Yeah. Of course, that's easier said than done, I suppose. Have you heard of moolah? It's another form of currency. It's called the moolah. Another form of failed currency. Freaking fiat money. Give you 10 billion moolah. Right? We're just sitting around waiting for the fucking dollar to just crash. And then, god damn. It's just. It's crazy the shit that people will do. Like how cold blooded and sick and evil people will get for pieces of paper. Oh my god. Because people, just want to live, but like, how do we end up in this situation? It's like once upon a time, people lived free, and they took their axe and their handsaw and they cut down some trees and a patch of ground, and they built themselves a cabin, and they built a fence, and they used what tools they had to till up the land and plant a garden, and they just lived there, and they went hunted for their food, and they grew a bunch of food in a garden, and they lived in a relative peace with one another. And then at some point somebody came along and says, I will give you this piece of grass in exchange for your house and all your land. And people were like, okay, he's got a piece of paper, we should probably let him run the world. Whatever, right? Oh man, I don't know what the fuck just happened. Like, it's crazy, man. Means of exchange. I mean, I can understand. At some point, people wanted to have some more of a simple means of exchange, Because before there was money, there was, you'd be like, I will trade you my apples for your blueberry pie or something, right? Right, et cetera, right? It was just easier for people to think of to standardize some means of exchange, but then that turned into a way to just enslave us all. And some small group of people were able to take over the whole fucking world and turn everyone into slaves, basically. And nobody seems to have a problem with this, I guess. uh, I think there must be free people out there, kind of. Well, there's probably still tribal societies. I know there's some out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there were other tribal societies that we're not aware of that may have, massive civilization somewhere. Perhaps they're protected. Well, it seems to me that it would be foolish to assume that our current mode of life is somehow superior to civilizations that existed for millennia before we did, to believe that they couldn't have advanced to an extent to where they could separate themselves from us. You know what I mean? Or like be so far beyond us that we don't even know that they exist or something, you know. I think it would be foolish to assume. I mean, we look a bit back on like ancient civilizations like as though they're primitive or something. Oh, they're primitive and they failed and blah blah blah, right? Well, did they? I mean, that's taking a lot on faith there to believe that that's the case. Honestly, it seems to me like could be entirely possible that they are still, you know, that they developed over many, many centuries to a level to where, like, our dumbasses don't even know they can exist, you know? Could be. Could be. You know, maybe we're like on a plantation just being slaves for them, you know? Because they need more microwaves and TVs, I guess, or whatever. Who fucking knows? Maybe this is like a zoo for them, you know? Or an amusement park, you know? A video game, or whatever, right? I don't know.